destroy it and try and produce people who we think are fitting the product line that we wish to exhibit. What do we educate for? Accumulation of knowledge, as has been said today, that is not required, it's in your pocket. A career, the World Economic Forum has said 60% of the careers that exist today will not exist 10 years from now. So I think that's going to be a difficult task. Are we educating for life, for happiness and good health? In this context, there is a Harvard University study which took place over a period of 80 years. And they found that people were under the impression that happiness and longevity of life would come from success. Success of designation, career success, accumulation of material things, and so on. And at the end of 80 years, they came to the conclusion which our ancient gurus were fully aware of, that longevity of life, happiness and good health comes only from meaningful relationships. So this is something we have to bear in mind if we are educators, and if one of the objectives is to have happiness and to create healthy, long-lived students of the future. Do we educate for hard skills, for technical skills, and for success? And again, I turn to Harvard University, Carnegie Mellon, and to Stanford. Now, it's amazing that 3 leading universities carried out research on the same topic simultaneously without sharing it with each other, and came to the same conclusion. That 75 to 80% of your success in life is not because of the technical or hard skills that you have acquired, but is because of the soft skills that you have. Now, if you start listing the soft skills, you can go on forever. Whether it is communication, whether it is compassion, whether it is whatever it is. So you have a full idea of the soft skills. But the point is that we are not teaching soft skills in our education system, at least not consciously. And that is why there is a huge advantage for students who have been to a school where education is not academic, it's all-round education. They have picked up their soft skills mostly outside the classroom. Competitiveness and ranking is another illness of our education system. We actually encourage competitiveness. We rank our children. Rank on what basis, I don't know. I have always been against ranking, and instead of competition, we should have collaboration. Singapore has now banned competition and ranking. In schools, Singapore has said education is not competition. There will be no more ranking in classes from now. This happened just recently. The people who are involved in this competition are losing the best years of their lives. This is their childhood. Let them enjoy it. Those who do well have inflated egos, which don't always result in the kind of success that they are looking for in future life. Those who don't fare well suffer depression. And the result is that parents, because of the competitiveness within parents, they start giving conditional love to their children. If you do well, Papa will love you. If you do this, Mama will love you. And so the kid comes under pressure and realizes that the love of the parent is not because you are the parent's child, but because of what you can meet by way of expectations of the parents. And obviously, The parents have never achieved what they expect the children to achieve. The children are not all going to achieve the expectations that are placed before them. So we are ending up with a situation where children will become rebellious, and then we'll say, oh, what a bad boy that kid is. Now, learning has never been divorced from nature and from society. If you look at the Gurukul, this was the atmosphere in which learning was done. And what is the role of the Guru? Let us be clear about that. The Guru did not teach. The Guru did not impart. The Guru only brought out what was already there in the child. It is what you bring out of the child and let the child recognize what value it has. That is the job of the Guru. And that is our job today, not to just transact information. The great teachers of history, whether it is Krishna, he didn't have a classroom. Buddha didn't have a classroom. Buddha didn't have a classroom, Guru Nanak Ji didn't have a classroom, Jesus Christ didn't have a classroom, and Prophet Muhammad didn't have a classroom. In fact, there were no classrooms. Education was doing extremely well until the Industrial Revolution and the Victorian era, when we have the concept of the classroom coming into the picture. Teaching cannot be divorced from life. Now here, in the factory school, and it's called a factory school, and many of our schools today are actually factory schools, where we try and fit in as many children as we can into a room. The children are facing this all-knowing teacher, the repository of all knowledge, and they are facing their backs to their colleagues, which is extremely rude and unnecessary. This is a very old, outdated system of a classroom. And if you look at this picture, they actually have their hands either on the desk or behind their backs so that they don't fidget, they don't speak to their neighbors, they just listen to what the teacher has to say. The purpose, as somebody had explained in the morning, was to create an intermediary between the upper class and the lower class. These were not people who were being trained for leadership roles. This was the kind of desk and chair that was there in the times of Charles Dickens. And if Oliver Twist was to come back to the world today, he would find nothing has changed. Everything else in the world has changed except for the classroom design. This is the classroom design. It's no different to what it was in the Victorian era. The first person who tried to make a change in 1893, Badley, who was the head of Bedales, which was the first revolutionary school in the UK, opened up classrooms, started farming so that children learned how to use their hands in the dignity of labor, started experiential learning, and introduced the first student parliament in any school in the world. This was a revolutionary concept. And then came in 1935 Arthur Foote, who came to the Doon School: adventure, dignity of the individual, democracy, leadership, aristocracy of service. When the principal of a military school told him that you'll never be able to control 500 kids without being able to punish them, he said, no, my job is to produce leaders. And he did produce leaders, and 50 of the teachers of Doon School became heads of schools by 1985. So in 50 years, 50 teachers were heading big schools. Kurt Hahn of Gordonston, the round square ideals. In Finland, you have an open school concept with open learning plans, individual. So you have learning replaces teaching, facilitator replaces teacher, stress on play and happiness, no homework or tests, personalized learning plans, a lot of emphasis on art, craft, theatre, music and languages, the informal atmosphere there, I'm calling it informal classroom time, in Finland is exactly half of our formal school time. And yet the learning outcomes are 20-25% better than in the USA. So, I've been told 1.5 minutes. Can I have another minute? Yeah. So I want to talk about an experiment that we carried out at the Doon School in the 1990s. There was a colleague of mine, Francis Phantom, who is no more. There's a colleague of mine who is still very much around. And we decided that why do we have subjects? It is not for the convenience of the students. It is for the convenience of the teachers. So let's teach without subjects, without classrooms, without subject teachers, and without textbooks. And the headmaster of the school said, okay, we give you 1 year. But the assessment will be done by the deputy headmaster, who was totally against the idea. To cut a long story short, the deputy headmaster at the end of the year said, fantastic results. Please continue. But we did not continue. I got seconded somewhere else. Francis went off as secretary of the council. And people have to work very hard to be able to teach in this method. And, you know, we took water, for example. So you teach maths through water, you teach geography through water, you teach history, biology, languages, chemistry. You can teach through anything. You can take your campus, you can take an airline, you can take a factory, and you can teach every subject and cover the syllabus without the child being aware of that they are learning physics or chemistry. Education cannot be transacted. Education is not a business. Education is bigger than academics. A lot of people get confused that your academic marks is your education. It's not. Your education is much bigger. There are people who've never been to school who are highly educated. Education must prepare for real world challenges like disproportionate distribution of wealth, water, food and shelter, sustainability, values and character, and intercultural sensitivity. So my point here is that I'm not saying get rid of the classroom. My point is you don't depend so much on the classroom as you do. You have to think outside the classroom. You have to let children have experiential learning. If in our team in Doon we didn't have a single maths teacher, and yet the children did so well in maths, there is a little bit of hard work required, a little bit of imagination, involve the children, and you can make a change. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. May I please request Dr. Jappreet Singh to felicitate Dr. Singh.
Jappreet gets to facilitate